Hello, my dear friends, and welcome back to Wolf's Secret. Before tonight's story begins, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank every one of you who continues to watch, support, comment, and share these stories with us. Every view, every kind message, and every quiet evening you choose to spend here means more than you may realize. Wolf's Secret has become a warm little place where powerful alpha kings can lose control over one stubborn heart, gentle omegas can discover just how valuable they truly are, and mischievous wolf pups can somehow create more trouble than an entire royal council. Tonight's story brings all of that together. There will be a carefully planned romantic date, two extremely determined little wolves, an alpha king who believes he has everything under control, and one sweet omega who may quietly change the meaning of family. So make yourself comfortable, stay with me, and let's begin. Alpha King Cassian Veilheart had spent 23 days planning the perfect first date. His 7-year-old twins needed 11 minutes to ruin it, and they had not even left the palace. Morning sunlight poured through the glass roof of Moonro's conservatory, turning hundreds of tiny water droplets into gold. The air smelled of damp earth, white roses, crushed thyme, and the warm pear soap Mara Belwyn used on her hands. Mara was kneeling beside a stubborn moonrose when Cassian entered. She did not notice him. "Come on," she murmured to the drooping plant. "We both know you're being dramatic." Cassian stopped. The most feared Alpha King in the North watched a 29-year-old Omega argue with a flower. Strangely, he found it adorable. His wolf stirred beneath his skin. "Mate." Cassian ignored him. He had been doing that with decreasing success for 3 months. Mara finally looked up. A streak of soil crossed one cheek, and a loose brown curl had escaped behind her ear. "Oh." She stood too quickly and nearly struck her head on a hanging basket. Cassian caught it before she did. "Your Majesty." "Mata." Her scent reached him as she stepped closer. Warm pear, chamomile, rain-wet thyme. Something inside his chest loosened. For years, Cassian had slept lightly, eaten quickly, and lived with part of himself constantly listening for danger. Around Mara, that restless part became strangely quiet. Unfortunately, Mara seemed completely unaware of the effect she had on him. "You needed me?" "Yes." Cassian had rehearsed the next sentence 6 times. None of those rehearsals helped. "You will accompany me to Moonmere today." Mara blinked. Cassian's wolf seemed embarrassed for him. "Am I in trouble?" "No." That sounded very much like an arrest. His jaw tightened. It was an invitation. "Oh." A tiny smile appeared. That sounded slightly less like one. Cassian stared at her. Mara immediately lowered her eyes, though her smile remained. Behind a wall of climbing roses, something rustled. Cassian turned. Nothing. What he failed to notice were 2 small heads disappearing beneath the leaves. Prince Finn covered his brother's mouth. Theo pushed his paw away. "Do you think he likes her?" Theo whispered. Finn gave him a look usually reserved for very stupid questions. He changed his coat 3 times. "Oh." They peeked through the roses. Mara was brushing a leaf from Cassian's shoulder. The king had gone completely still. Finn narrowed his amber eyes. "We need to know first." "Know what?" Finn watched Mara carefully. "If she stays when things stop being nice." An hour later, Cassian finally had Mara inside his carriage. No council. No guards. No children. Perfect. Then came a sound beneath Mara's seat. Scratch. Scratch. Cassian closed his eyes. Mara slowly lifted the lid of the picnic chest. 2 pairs of amber eyes stared back. Theo had Cassian's carefully chosen rose between his teeth. Mara looked at the pups. Then, at the king. "Your Majesty?" Cassian sighed. "Yes?" "Does your lunch usually have ears?" For 3 long seconds, nobody inside the carriage moved. Theo still held the rose between his teeth. Finn looked deeply disappointed in him. Cassian looked as though he were reconsidering every decision he had made since becoming a father. Mara was the first to break. A laugh escaped her. It was soft at first, then warmer, until she had to cover her mouth. Cassian stared at her. He had heard diplomats flatter him, nobles praise him, and entire halls cheer his name. None of it had ever affected him quite like Mara laughing with sunlight on her face. Theo's tail thumped against the picnic basket. "Do not encourage him," Cassian said. "I'm trying not to." "You are failing." "I noticed." Finn climbed out with considerably more dignity than his brother. Theo attempted the same, caught one hind leg on the blanket, and rolled directly into Mara's lap. Oh! Mara caught him. Theo immediately settled against her as though this had been his plan. Cassian narrowed his eyes. The pup closed his. Remarkable, Cassian murmured. He appears exhausted from committing treason. Mara laughed again. His wolf stirred. Mate. Cassian looked away. This was supposed to have been simple. Moonmere Lake. Lunch beneath the willow trees. A walk beside the water. Perhaps, if courage arrived before sunset, he would tell Mara that he had begun measuring his days by the moments he saw her. Instead, his son was licking rose petals off Mara's fingers. Cassian reached for Theo. The pup growled. Cassian froze. Mara blinked. Did your son just growl at the Alpha King? Yes. Is that allowed? No. Theo pressed closer to her. Mara lowered her voice. I think he disagrees. Cassian's mouth twitched despite himself. He should have sent them back. Instead, when the carriage stopped near a little roadside bakery, Mara bought 2 warm honey rolls and divided them carefully. Half for Finn, half for Theo. Cassian watched. You're giving them your breakfast. I wasn't very hungry. Her stomach betrayed her with a quiet growl. Cassian raised an eyebrow. Mara sighed. That was extremely disloyal. Without a word, he handed her his own roll. She looked at it, then at him. And what will you eat? I'm not hungry. His stomach remained respectfully silent. Mara narrowed her eyes. You two are related. Cassian almost smiled. Later, the road narrowed beneath flowering hawthorn trees, and they continued on foot toward Moonmere. The twins had supposedly returned with the carriage and their nursemaid. Cassian knew better than to trust silence involving his children. Still, for several precious minutes, there was only Mara beside him. Birdsong drifted through the branches. Spring sunlight warmed the path. Her scent moved gently through the air whenever the breeze touched her hair. Mara glanced at him. You're very quiet. I am usually quiet. Not like this. Cassian looked down at her. She had noticed. That simple realization warmed something in him. A small leaf had caught against his collar. Mara reached up without thinking. Hold still. Her fingers brushed his neck. Heat flashed beneath Cassian's skin. His wolf surged forward. Matey. Mara stopped breathing. For one heartbeat, neither moved. Her gray-green eyes lifted to his. Cassian could hear her pulse, could smell the sudden sweetness in her scent. His hand nearly rose to her waist. Then, a violent sneeze exploded from the bushes. Mara jumped. Cassian closed his eyes. No. The bushes trembled. Another sneeze. Mara slowly pushed aside a branch. Nothing remained except 2 sets of tiny paw prints and a folded piece of paper. She picked it up. Most of the writing had been smeared by mud, but one line remained perfectly readable. Test 3. What does she do when something precious gets lost? Mara's smile faded. Behind her, Cassian went completely still. Somewhere deeper in the woods, 2 little wolves were already running toward Moonmere. By the time Cassian and Mara reached Moonmere, the perfect date had acquired muddy paw prints, 2 missing children, and what appeared to be a written examination. Mara unfolded the mysterious paper again. Test 3. Cassian's jaw tightened. I can read. I know. I'm giving you time to explain why your children are evaluating me. I cannot explain something I only discovered 30 minutes ago. Mara glanced sideways at him. Very convincing. Cassian almost answered when a silver-gray wolf shot from behind a willow tree. Finn stopped before them. Theo appeared seconds later, covered in leaves. Cassian folded his arms. Shift. Both pups immediately became boys. Finn looked composed. Theo had a twig in his hair. Explain. Theo pointed at Finn. Finn looked betrayed. Mara pressed her lips together. Before Cassian could continue, Finn suddenly touched his coat. His face changed. The careful little prince vanished. My badge. Cassian stilled. Finn searched his pockets frantically. What badge? Mara asked. The silver one. Cassian's expression darkened. Mara noticed. It belonged to their mother, he said quietly. The humor disappeared. Finn's breathing became uneven. I had it near the bridge. Cassian called for the guards who had followed at a respectful distance. We'll find it. Finn nodded, but Mara saw what everyone else missed. His small hands were trembling. She crouched. Show me where you last remember touching it. Cassian looked at her. Mara, the rain is coming. Dark clouds were already gathering over Moonmere. Then we should hurry. She smiled at Finn. Come on. The first drops fell before they reached the forest. Within minutes, rain whispered through the leaves and darkened Mara's pale dress. Cassian removed his coat and placed it over her shoulders. You'll be cold. So will you. I'm an alpha. Does that make you waterproof? Cassian stared at her. Mara smiled sweetly. Behind them, Theo giggled. They searched beneath roots, beside stones, and along the muddy path. Cassian found himself watching Mara more than the ground. She never complained. When Finn apologized for the third time, she simply squeezed his shoulder. Precious things are worth looking for. Something in Cassian's chest tightened. Then Mara stopped. A faint silver gleam rested beneath the broken edge of the bridge. I see it. Before Cassian could stop her, she stepped down the wet bank. Her boot slipped. Mata! Cassian caught her around the waist. For one breathless second, her back rested against his chest. Pear, chamomile, rain-wet thyme. His wolf surged. Mine. Mara's pulse fluttered beneath his hand. Neither spoke. Then Theo whispered loudly behind them. Are they going to kiss? Finn elbowed him. Cassian released Mara very slowly. No, he said. Mara cleared her throat. Definitely not. For reasons Cassian disliked, she sounded almost disappointed. Mara retrieved the badge and climbed back. Mud covered her skirt nearly to the knees. Cassian stared at the ruined dress he had secretly asked the seamstress to make suitable for Moonmere. Mara looked down. Well, she sat directly on the wet grass. Cassian blinked. What are you doing? My dress is already ruined. She patted the grass beside her. Now I can stop worrying about it. Cassian laughed. It escaped before he could prevent it. Both boys stared. Mara did too. Apparently, the Alpha King laughing was rarer than an eclipse. Finn approached quietly. Mara placed the silver badge into his palm. His fingers closed around it. Then his eyes lifted to hers. Would you have looked that hard if Papa wasn't here? Cassian's smile disappeared. There it was. The test. Mara studied Finn for a long moment. Then she gently closed his fingers around his mother's badge. Your father wasn't the one who looked frightened. Finn went very still. So did Cassian. And beneath the scent of spring rain, Cassian's wolf whispered the word he was becoming increasingly afraid to believe. Home. The rain became too heavy to ignore. By the time Cassian found the old lakeside cottage, Mara's hair clung to her cheeks, Finn was shivering, and Theo had discovered that jumping into puddles produced excellent results. Theo. The little prince froze with one foot above another puddle. Cassian gave him a look. Theo slowly lowered his boot onto dry ground. Then, when his father turned away, he stepped backward into the puddle anyway. Mara covered her laugh with a cough. I heard that, Cassian said. I coughed. You laugh very strangely. The cottage had once belonged to a royal groundskeeper. It was small and dusty, but the roof remained sound. Cassian lit the stone fireplace while Mara found old blankets in a wooden chest. Soon, orange firelight softened the room. Rain tapped against the windows. Wet pine and lake water drifted through cracks in the shutters, mixing with cedar smoke and Mara's warm pear and chamomile scent. Finn sneezed. Mara turned. Both boys were soaked. Wolf form, she said. Cassian looked over his shoulder. The twins stared at her. Excuse me? Finn asked. Fur dries faster than wet clothes. Theo shifted immediately. A small dark wolf appeared where the boy had stood. Finn sighed like an exhausted old man and followed. Mara smiled. Much better. Cassian watched in disbelief as she sat on the rug and began rubbing Theo dry with a blanket. The pup melted into her lap. You have absolutely no dignity, Cassian told him. Theo's tail thumped. Finn attempted to maintain royal dignity for nearly 40 seconds before Mara found a leaf tangled behind his ear. Oh, sweetheart. Finn's ears lowered. Cassian almost laughed. Mara carefully worked the leaf free. There. Handsome again. Finn immediately lay beside her. Cassian stared at both sons. Traitors. Mara looked up. Jealous? No. His answer came too quickly. Her eyes brightened. Cassian turned toward the fire. His wolf was considerably less dignified. Our turn. Absolutely not. Mara blinked. Did you say something? No. She smiled suspiciously. Dinner was whatever remained inside the picnic basket after two royal criminals had invaded it: bread, cheese, pears, and one slightly crushed lemon cake. Mara cut the cake. Cassian noticed she gave everyone else the unbroken pieces and kept the damaged corner for herself. Without comment, he exchanged his piece with hers. Mara looked down, then at him. You keep doing that. Doing what? Giving me the better piece when you think I'm not noticing. Cassian became very interested in the fire. You are imagining things. Of course. Her voice was soft, far too amused. Later, the twins fell asleep near the hearth. Theo sprawled across Mara's feet in wolf form while Finn curled against her hip. Cassian sat opposite her. For once, there was no crown between them. No council, no servants. Only rain, firelight, and the woman whose presence made his wolf feel strangely peaceful. Mara stroked Finn's silver fur. You watch them constantly. Cassian's gaze shifted toward his sons. I'm their father. That isn't what I meant. Silence settled. The fire cracked softly. Cassian finally spoke. When you lose someone once, you begin believing the world is always preparing to take someone else. Mara's hand stopped. She understood without asking who he meant. Seraphine? The late Luna. I'm sorry, Mara whispered. Cassian looked at her. He had heard those words hundreds of times. From Mara, they somehow hurt differently, and healed differently. Her scent warmed. His wolf moved closer beneath his skin, not demanding possession this time. Only closeness. Mara's eyes grew heavy. Sometime later, she fell asleep against the wall. Cassian quietly placed his coat around her shoulders. He remained there longer than necessary, watching the firelight touch her face. Then Finn stirred. Half asleep, the little wolf shifted just enough for a child's sleepy voice to escape. Mama! Cassian stopped breathing. Mara's eyes opened, and suddenly, the little cottage became completely silent. Finn's sleepy word remained between them long after the fire cracked again. Mama! Mara did not move. Neither did Cassian. Finn had already settled back into wolf form, his silver head resting against Mara's hip as though he had said nothing extraordinary. Theo slept across her feet, one paw twitching through some private dream. Mara slowly looked at Cassian. I don't think he knew what he was saying. Cassian's face remained calm, but his scent had changed. Cedar smoke deepened beneath something colder. He hasn't called anyone that before. Mara's heart tightened. She looked down at Finn and gently stroked behind his ear. I'm not his mother. No. There was no cruelty in Cassian's answer, only an old sadness. Mara nodded. Then I won't pretend to be. Something in Cassian's expression softened. She could have reached for the empty place in his family. Instead, she respected it. That mattered more than he could explain. Morning arrived pale and beautiful over Moonmere. The storm had washed the world clean. Sunlight shimmered across the lake, and water dripped from pine branches with soft, silver sounds. Mara woke beneath Cassian's coat. She touched the dark fabric. It smelled like him. Cedar, black tea, cold mountain air. For reasons she refused to examine, she held it around herself for several seconds longer. Across the room, Cassian was already awake. He noticed. He said nothing. His wolf, however, was insufferably pleased. The twins woke hungry. Theo immediately discovered the burned toast. Papa made breakfast? Cassian looked offended. I can cook. Finn examined a blackened piece. Can you? Mara turned away quickly. Cassian narrowed his eyes. Are you laughing? No. You are. I'm protecting your dignity. I am the Alpha King. Then you have more dignity to protect. Theo giggled so hard he nearly dropped his toast. Cassian stared at Mara. She smiled over the rim of her tea, and despite himself, he smiled back. It felt dangerously domestic. Later, while the twins explored the shore, Mara sat beside Cassian beneath a willow. Was their mother kind? She asked. Cassian watched Finn helping Theo balance on a fallen log. Seraphine was brave, intelligent, terrible at cards. Mara smiled. You miss her. I miss who we were before loss taught us to be careful. The honesty surprised them both. Mara lowered her gaze. I think being left teaches something similar. Cassian turned toward her. She hesitated. My relatives needed me after my father died, until they had his house. Her fingers folded together. Later, a man courted me. His family decided an Omega, who worked with soil, wasn't suitable. Cassian's jaw hardened. Mara noticed. Please don't look like you're planning an execution. I wasn't. You were a little. He was a fool. A laugh escaped her. Cassian continued more quietly. He made you believe being overlooked meant being unworthy. Mara's smile faded. No, life did that long before him. Cassian wanted to tell her then. Mate. Wanted to tell her. His wolf searched for her scent in every room. That he knew which tea she drank. That he had once changed the route of a council meeting simply because it passed the conservatory. Instead, he said, you should never have had to earn the right to be chosen. Mara looked at him. For a moment, the lake seemed very quiet. Then her eyes narrowed. Cassian. He liked his name in her voice far too much. How long did you plan yesterday? He considered lying. His wolf objected. 23 days. Mara blinked. The carriage? Yes. The lake? Yes. The lemon cake? You mentioned liking it in February. Her lips parted. Slowly, everything rearranged itself in her mind. This wasn't royal business. No. This was. Cassian held her gaze. A date. Mara's cheeks turned pink. From behind the willow came Theo's delighted whisper. I told you she didn't know. Cassian closed his eyes. Mara began to laugh. Mara laughed until she noticed Cassian was not laughing with her. He was watching her, not as a king watched a subject, not even as an alpha watched an omega. There was something quieter in his amber gold eyes, something almost vulnerable. You planned 23 days for one afternoon? She asked. 22. You just said 23. The first day was mostly denial. Mara stared at him. Then she laughed again. Cassian's mouth softened. His wolf had spent months demanding that he claim her, protect her, keep her close. Cassian had refused every instinct that might steal her choice, but seeing her smile made restraint increasingly difficult. I wanted to court you, he said. Her laughter faded. The breeze carried her scent between them. Pear, chamomile, rain-wet thyme. You wanted to court me? I still do. Mara looked toward the lake as pink warmth touched her cheeks. Cassian nearly smiled. Then, Theo shouted from behind the willow. Finn, I found the frog. Cassian's expression changed instantly. No frogs. Silence. That silence worries me, Mara whispered. It should. They found the twins beside the picnic blanket. Theo was holding a frog. Finn was holding another sheet of paper. Cassian stopped. Give me that. Finn hid it behind his back. Finn. The alpha command was mild, but birds seemed to quiet in the trees. Finn reluctantly surrendered the page. Across the top, written in childish letters, were the words, Mara test. Cassian read. Test 1. Is she nice when Papa isn't watching? Test 2. Will she share something she wants? Test 3. Will she search for something important to us? Then came. Test 4. Make everything go wrong. See if she leaves. Cassian's face hardened. Mara's amusement disappeared. You planned all of this? Theo carefully released the frog. Finn lowered his eyes. Cassian crouched before them. You lied. You followed us after being told not to. You deliberately manipulated Mara. We needed to know, Finn whispered. You needed to trust me. Finn looked up. Something wounded appeared in his young face. You know how to choose generals. Cassian went still. You know how to choose guards. You know who should protect the borders. Finn's voice trembled. But you don't know how to choose someone who stays. The words struck harder than any accusation Cassian had heard in his council chamber. Theo moved closer to his brother. We heard Lady Eveline talking. Cassian's eyes sharpened. Finn swallowed. She said when you finally chose a proper Luna, we could be sent to Northwatch Academy. Mara's heart sank. She said a new Luna would want her own children. Theo added softly, a real family. Cassian became frighteningly still. For once, his anger was not loud. It was cold. Precise. Who told you that? Nobody told us, Finn whispered. We heard her. Cassian looked away toward the lake. He had spent years protecting his sons from assassins, political enemies, dangerous borders. He had never considered protecting them from a careless sentence spoken behind a half-closed door. Finn rubbed his sleeve across his eyes. We weren't trying to ruin your date. Theo nodded. We were only ruining parts of it. Mara almost laughed. Almost. Finn continued. We wanted to know if she liked us, when you weren't looking. Mara's chest tightened. Suddenly, the honey roll, the lost badge, the muddy dress, every suspicious little interruption made sense. This had never been jealousy. It had been fear. Cassian's voice softened. You should have come to me. What if you liked her too much to see? That silenced him. Mara stepped closer. Cassian looked at her, regret heavy in his eyes. I'm sorry. She understood what he meant. For the tests, for the secrets, perhaps for allowing her to walk unknowingly toward a family already carrying wounds. Mara did not answer him yet. Instead, she knelt before the twins. Finn immediately looked ashamed. Theo reached for his brother's hand. Mara's scent softened around them. Warm. Familiar. Safe. She looked from one little boy to the other. Is that what you thought I would do? Neither answered. Mara's voice became gentler. That I would love your father. She paused. And ask him to send you away? Finn's lower lip trembled. And that was answer enough. Mara did not promise the twins she would never leave. Promises made to frighten children should not be prettier than the truth. Instead, she sat on the damp grass and opened her arms. Theo reached her first. Finn hesitated. Only for a second. Then he folded against her other side. Mara held them gently. I cannot promise what the future will look like, she said, but I can promise something else. Finn looked up. I will never pretend to care about you just because I care about your father. Cassian's chest tightened. And if you're angry with me, I'll still care. If we break something, I may care while making you clean it up. Theo frowned. What if Finn breaks it? You'll probably help. That seems unfair. A laugh escaped Cassian. Theo pointed triumphantly. Papa laughed. I occasionally do. Not before Mara. Silence. Cassian gave his son a warning look. Mara's cheeks warmed. Finn finally smiled. Later, while the twins collected stones near the shore, Cassian walked beside Mara. Sunlight had returned to Moonmere, turning the wet leaves bright green. Her muddy skirt brushed the grass, and Cassian found himself strangely fond of it. I owe you an apology, he said. You already gave me one. You deserve another. That sounds expensive. His mouth twitched. I brought you into something complicated without telling you. Mara stopped. You did. I wanted one day where nothing went wrong. She looked toward Theo, who was attempting to balance 6 stones on Finn's head. You chose the wrong children for that. Cassian laughed softly. Then Mara's expression gentled. You were testing me too. His smile disappeared. I was not. You showed me the perfect carriage, perfect lake, perfect lunch, perfect king. Cassian became still. Mara stepped closer. But I was trying to meet the man. Her words landed somewhere beneath his armor. The breeze lifted her hair. Her scent reached him. His wolf surged so suddenly that Cassian stepped backward. Mara noticed. Cassian? His eyes flashed gold. Stay there. She should have been frightened. Instead, concern filled her face. What's wrong? Nothing. A low growl betrayed him. Mara raised an eyebrow. That sounded like something. Cassian turned away as his control finally slipped. Bones shifted. Dark fur swept across his body. Seconds later, an enormous black wolf stood beside the lake, silver running along his shoulders like moonlight. Mara stopped breathing. Cassian lowered his head. For the first time in years, the Alpha King felt uncertain. Then Mara approached. Mara, Finn called nervously. She kept walking. The wolf was enormous enough that his shoulder nearly reached hers. Amber gold eyes followed every movement. Mara lifted one hand. Cassian could have stepped away. He did not. Her palms settled against his muzzle. Warmth exploded through them. Mara gasped. A golden sensation circled her wrist and traveled beneath her skin toward her heart. Cassian's wolf closed his eyes. Matey. This time, Mara felt the word without hearing it. Her fingers trembled against his fur. Oh, she whispered. Before either could understand what had happened, hoofbeats sounded along the road. A royal messenger appeared between the trees. He dismounted quickly and bowed. Your Majesty. Cassian shifted back, already irritated. The messenger carefully avoided looking surprised by the king's lack of a shirt. Mara was less successful. She immediately looked at the lake. Cassian noticed. His wolf was delighted. Cassian was not. What happened? The messenger swallowed. Lady Eveline has summoned an emergency gathering of the Royal Council. Cassian's expression cooled. On whose authority? She claims the reputation of the crown is at risk. His eyes moved briefly toward Mara. That was enough. Cassian stepped in front of her. The air sharpened with cedar smoke. What exactly has reached the palace? The messenger hesitated. Everyone knows, Your Majesty. Knows what? That the Alpha King disappeared overnight with a garden Omega. Behind Cassian, Mara's warmth vanished. And for the first time since their imperfect date began, nobody laughed. By noon, Ravenmere Palace knew everything. By 1 o'clock, it knew several things that had never happened. Mara heard two versions before she even reached the Eastern Corridor. In one, she had deliberately trapped the Alpha King overnight at Moonmere. In another, she had used forbidden Omega perfume to seduce him. Mara almost admired the imagination. Almost. She entered Moonro's conservatory, carrying her muddy dress over one arm, and found 3 assistants pretending very badly not to stare. "Good morning," she said. Silence. Mara placed her basket down. "If anyone is wondering, I did not enchant the king." One assistant coughed. "The rain did trap us overnight." Another assistant turned pink. "And no, I will not answer the question you are currently thinking." All 3 suddenly became fascinated by flowers. Mara smiled despite herself. Then she noticed the official envelope on her work table. Her smile disappeared. By order of the Palace Household Council, Mara Belwyn was temporarily removed from the Royal Conservatory pending reassignment. No reason was given. None was needed. Across the palace, Cassian was discovering the same thing. The council chamber smelled of polished cedar, parchment, and restrained fear. Lady Eveline Harrow stood near the long table in silver blue silk. "I acted to protect Miss Belwyn." Cassian's amber eyes hardened. "By removing her position? By removing her from gossip? You removed her without my authority." Eveline lowered her head. "The court is concerned. The court frequently concerns itself with matters that do not belong to it." Several counselors suddenly studied their papers. Eveline remained composed. "She is an Omega gardener, Your Majesty. You are an unmated king with 2 heirs. People will speculate." Cassian leaned back. "Then perhaps people require more work." No one laughed. Cassian had not intended it as a joke. That evening, Mara avoided him. At dinner, she sat farther down the household table. Cassian noticed. At sunset, she took another staircase. Cassian noticed that too. By nightfall, he was irritated enough that even his guards walked more quietly. He found her the next morning in a small breakfast room. Mara was drinking tea. Finn and Theo were beside her. Cassian entered. Mara stood. "Your Majesty." He disliked the title immediately. Yesterday she had called him Cassian. Today there was an entire kingdom inside those 2 words. Theo looked between them. Then he grabbed Mara's chair. "What are you doing?" she asked. He dragged it loudly across the floor until it stood beside Cassian's. "There." Finn nodded approvingly. Cassian sat. Mara stared at both boys. "Very subtle." "We're princes," Theo said. "We don't have to be subtle." Cassian rubbed his forehead. Mara laughed before she could stop herself. He had missed that sound. It had been less than a day. That realization disturbed him more than he wanted to admit. Later, he caught her alone near the conservatory. "You're avoiding me." "I'm working." "You were removed from your work." "Thank you for the reminder." Cassian frowned. Mara sighed. "I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize." "That seems to be the problem. Everyone thinks I need something from you." "What do you need?" The question came quietly. Mara looked at him. For one dangerous moment, she wanted to answer honestly. "You." Instead, she looked away. "I need Finn and Theo not to become weapons people use against you because of me. They are my sons. You are not responsible for court gossip. But I can choose not to feed it." Cassian stepped closer. Her scent weakened with sadness. His wolf hated it. "So your solution is to disappear?" Mara flinched. He regretted the words instantly. Before he could soften them, footsteps approached. A palace clerk appeared carrying another sealed envelope. "For Miss Belwyn." Mara opened it. Cassian watched the color leave her face. "What is it?" She handed him the paper. "Permanent reassignment. Northern Botanical Station. 300 miles from Ravenmere." Cassian's scent turned sharp with anger. Neither noticed the small silver-gray wolf standing behind the half-open door. Finn's amber eyes moved from the letter to the travel bag already packed beside Mara's desk. And the little prince understood only one thing. Mara was leaving. Finn did not cry when he saw Mara's packed bag. That frightened Cassian more than tears would have. The little prince simply shifted back into human form, walked to Mara, and wrapped both arms around her waist. "Don't go." Mara's hand froze above his hair. Theo arrived moments later. Once he understood, he attached himself to her other side. "I'm being reassigned," Mara explained gently. "No," Theo said. "It isn't really my choice. Papa is king." Mara glanced at Cassian. Theo did too. Both expressions seemed to ask why being Alpha King was taking so long to become useful. Cassian almost smiled. Almost. Then he looked at the reassignment order again. "No one is sending you anywhere." By afternoon, the Royal Council Hall was full. Pack leaders, noble families, senior officials, and palace advisors filled the marble chamber beneath tall windows glowing with cold afternoon light. Mara stood near the back. Cassian hated that immediately. Lady Eveline spoke calmly. "No one questions Miss Belwyn's character, but appearances matter. An unmarried Omega spending the night alone with the king." "We were there." Theo's voice rang across the hall. Every head turned. Cassian closed his eyes briefly. Finn and Theo stood near the doors. Theo continued, "And there were frogs." Finn whispered, "The frogs aren't important." "They were to me." A few counselors hid smiles. Lady Eveline recovered quickly. "The prince's affection for Miss Belwyn is precisely the concern. Some believe she deliberately cultivated that affection to improve her position." Mara's face went pale. Cassian rose. The room fell silent. But before he could speak, Finn stepped forward. "She didn't follow us." His small voice carried surprisingly far. Lady Eveline frowned. Finn swallowed, then lifted his chin. "We followed her." Theo hurried beside him. Everywhere. A dangerous little ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. Cassian stared at his sons. Finn pulled a folded paper from his pocket. "The picnic basket was us." Theo raised one hand. "Mostly me." "The road bakery was us." "I was hungry." "The forest was us." Theo thought carefully. "The frog was also me." "Enough about the frog," Finn whispered. Then Finn's expression became serious. "We tested Mara because we were scared Papa would choose someone who didn't want us." The amusement vanished. Finn explained everything. The honey rolls, the lost badge, the questions, test 4, and the words they had overheard about being sent away once Cassian chose a new Luna. Lady Eveline's face changed. Cassian saw it. So did Mara. Finn turned toward the nobles. "Mara didn't know Papa was courting her." Theo nodded. "She thought he was bad at invitations." Mara covered her mouth. Cassian's jaw tightened. Theo looked at his father. "You were." A counselor coughed suspiciously. Cassian decided executions would damage the mood. Finn continued. "She never asked us for anything. She shared her food. She found Mama's badge. She stayed when everything went wrong." His eyes found Mara. "And she never asked Papa to send us away." Mara's eyes burned. Cassian descended from the dais. His footsteps echoed through the hall until he stood beside her. Not ahead of her. Beside her. "Mara Belwyn did not pursue this crown," he said. His voice was quiet, but alpha authority filled every corner. "She did not seek access to my sons. She did not request privilege, wealth, or rank." Cassian looked at Mara. Her pear and chamomile scent trembled in the air. "I pursued her." Silence. "And if she permits me, I intend to continue." Mara stared at him. Lady Eveline lowered her gaze. Cassian turned toward the council. "Her reassignment is revoked. The official who authorized it without royal approval will answer for it." Then his attention returned entirely to Mara. For once, the kingdom could wait. Mara's voice came softly. "And if I never become your Luna?" A murmur swept through the hall. Cassian did not hesitate. He stepped closer. The crown remained behind him on the throne. The man stood before her. "Then nothing changes about what I feel." Mara's breath caught. Cassian lowered his voice so that the next words belonged mostly to her. "I was hoping you might choose me before you ever chose the crown." And suddenly, in a room filled with hundreds of people, Mara felt as though only two hearts were still making any sound. 3 weeks later, Alpha King Cassian Veilheart planned another date. This time, it took him 9 minutes. There was no royal carriage waiting beneath the palace steps, no musicians, no crystal glasses, no servants carrying silver trays. Only a basket, a faded blue blanket, fresh bread, cheese, 4 pears, and 1 lemon cake. Mara studied the basket. 4 pears? Cassian remained suspiciously calm. I like pears. You don't. I may have changed. And 4 cups? Preparation. Mara narrowed her eyes. Cassian offered his arm. Are you coming? She slipped her hand through it. Yes. The simple contact still sent warmth through the bond between them. Neither had rushed to name it. Cassian had surprised nearly everyone by refusing to perform an immediate mating ceremony. Mara had chosen him. That was enough. For now, they returned to Moonmere beneath a sky washed blue by late spring. Wildflowers covered the hills, and warm wind carried pine, lake water, and Mara's soft pear and chamomile scent. Cassian spread the blanket beneath their willow. Mara sat beside him. For several peaceful minutes, nothing happened. She became suspicious. This is going unusually well. Cassian poured tea. It is. No rain. No. No lost badges. Not yet. No frogs. Cassian's expression hardened. Do not summon them. Mara laughed. Then a bush moved. She looked toward it. Cassian continued drinking his tea. Another bush shook. Mara whispered, Cassian. I saw. 2 small tails disappeared behind the leaves. Mara covered her smile. Aren't you going to stop them? Cassian calmly picked up the 4th pair. No. Then, he raised his voice. You may come out now. Silence. Both of you. Finn emerged first with the expression of a spy whose government had betrayed him. Theo crawled out behind him. How did you know? Theo demanded. Cassian pointed toward the basket. 4 cups. Theo gasped. You invited us? I anticipated you. That's almost the same thing. It absolutely is not. Mara laughed until her eyes watered. The twins rushed onto the blanket. Within minutes, Theo had stolen the corner of the lemon cake. Finn had muddy knees, and Cassian's carefully folded napkins were being used to build a tiny fortress. Mara leaned against Cassian's shoulder. So much for your perfect date. He looked down at her. This one is better. Her smile softened. Later, as evening cooled the lake, the twins shifted. Finn's silver-gray wolf curled against Mara's left side. Theo's darker wolf claimed her right and immediately placed his muddy paw across her skirt. Mara sighed. I just washed this. Theo closed his eyes. Coward, she whispered. Behind her, Cassian shifted too. The enormous black wolf settled into the grass, silver markings glowing beneath the rising moon. Mara rested comfortably against his warm chest. His scent surrounded her. Cedar smoke, black tea, cold mountain air, home. Cassian lowered his massive head beside hers. Mara placed her palm against his muzzle. The mate bond awakened instantly. Warmth flowed from her hand, along her wrist, and beneath her ribs. This time, she did not pull away. She opened herself to it. Cassian's wolf went completely still. Then his eyes closed. The bond settled between them, no longer a demand from fate, but something freely accepted. Mara smiled. I choose you too. Cassian shifted back. His forehead rested against hers. You're certain? Mara glanced down at the twins. Theo was snoring. Finn had somehow stolen half the blanket. No. Cassian blinked. She smiled. But apparently your family came as a package. A quiet laugh escaped him. Then he kissed her. Softly. Slowly. Without a kingdom watching. Cassian had once believed love should be protected by controlling every possible disaster. Mara had taught him something gentler. Family was not the place where nothing went wrong. It was the place where no one was abandoned when it did. His first perfect date had taken 23 days to plan. His second had included muddy paws, stolen cake, 2 uninvited wolf pups, and a crooked blanket. Nothing had gone according to plan. And as Cassian watched Mara laughing beneath the moonlight with his sons pressed warmly against her, he finally understood. Perfection had never been the absence of chaos. It was knowing exactly who he wanted beside him when the chaos came. And this was where Cassian and Mara's story finally grew quiet. If you're still here with me, thank you for staying until the last moment. Mara's journey carried a truth many of us understand. Being misunderstood can hurt. Being pushed aside can hurt even more. And when trust feels betrayed, there is always the temptation to beg someone to see our worth. But Mara never needed to do that. When the palace judged her, she was willing to walk away rather than trade her dignity for a place beside a king. That was her real strength. She could not control the whispers, the court, or what others believed about her. She could only choose what she accepted, how she responded, and whether she abandoned herself just to be chosen by someone else. And Cassian learned something too. Love is rarely perfect. Occasionally, it even arrives with muddy paws and stolen lemon cake. If this story reminded you to protect your dignity, leave just one word in the comments, dignity. And if Wolf's Secret gave you a warm moment tonight, a like, share, or subscription would mean a great deal. Thank you for being here.